Hey everyone, John Gonzalez here, Gonzo Show. Welcome to today's episode. I am broadcasting from Traverse City, Michigan, the Park Place Hotel, and I'm honored to have as a special guest Doug Stanton from the National Writers Series right here in Traverse City. Doug, how you doing today?
Hi, good morning, John. I'm fine.
That is good to hear.
It's early.
It is early, but we've got a lot going on. Today is the 4th of July. By the way, happy 4th of July.
Thank you.
You know a little bit about what it's like to celebrate and to honor those that serve, don't you?
Yes, it's true. I've written 2 books about, as it turns out, combat, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
One about World War II, one about Afghanistan. I'm working on a third about Vietnam, actually.
Are you really?
Yeah.
How's that coming along?
It's coming along well. My wife and I, Ann Stanton, were in Vietnam in April.
Okay.
And we were researching it with several members of the platoon I'm writing about for the book, and it was a fascinating trip. It was a bit of a break. That's what I'm doing full-time now, which is my day job, and the National Writers Series, as you know, has been an ongoing project for about the last 4 years.
Yeah.
You've been nice enough to have us on, and
thank you. Well, I thought you were talking a little bit more about the Vietnam trip because it sounds really interesting.
well, do you want to?
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
I think that's part of the when you do these interviews, right? And you know a little bit about through the writer series, you just never know where the conversation takes you sometimes.
right, because we didn't discuss this.
We didn't
ahead of
discuss
time.
this, no.
Well, first of all, I would say to everyone listening or reading or otherwise is to go to Vietnam because it's a fascinating place, unlike Europe or Latin America, in that they are really, it's a booming economy, and they are very fond of Americans. And
Really?
Their perception of what they call the American War, that 10 years of trauma and tragedy that America has not really assimilated yet, I think, into its own culture.
Mm-hmm.
They've moved far beyond that. I mean, they're not sitting around thinking about, oh, what happened to us during the Vietnam War. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, and we asked them, Ann and I, on the street, well, why is that? And a lot of the young people in their 20s and 30s said, that's because if we were worried about everyone who had ever attacked us, we'd have no friends and we wouldn't be thinking about anything except the past.
Right.
And it's a strangely communist country in that it seems incredibly capitalistic. So their economy is really much built upon trade and on the street and at the national level. And so we were quite shocked to really be so warmly welcomed, as were the veterans who'd fought there. In fact, Stan Parker, one of the fellows I'm writing about, who fought there in 1968, said, Doug, afterwards, he said, I had a warmer homecoming in Vietnam than I had in the United States of America when I came back in 1969.
Isn't
That's
it
pretty shocking?
It is shocking. Isn't it fascinating to look at history through a different lens? And I'll just tell you my history. Last time I was in my dad's home country, which is Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to talking around the dinner table after a few tequilas, right? And you hear the perspective of the Mexican residents, of their impressions of the United States, even going back to when we took their land.
Mm-hmm.
To hear their version of a history on that level. And then to hear my uncles and aunts talk about the day that my dad left at the age of 18 to come to the United States, one of 14 children,
Wow.
the only one of 14 children to come to the United States, and to hear their perspective of why he left, and to hear my dad's perspective of why he left. 2 different stories.
It had to be because the other 13 kids stayed behind.
Yeah.
Where did he end up?
In Michigan.
Oh, working in the...
Working for Chrysler, yeah. He worked in the auto industry.
Wow.
He worked in the fields at first and worked with, my uncle had a farm here too. His uncle had a farm here.
Right.
So, yeah, it's an interesting story of why one person would choose to leave. But, again, go into the history part of things to hear the different versions of people, how they perceive things or what was going on in their world at the time. It's interesting.
It's funny you bring up the kitchen table because that's the kind of history I like to tell. I mean, it's the kind of stories that people... The intimate, familiar human dramas that really make up the granularity of history as opposed to the sweep of what the generals or the politicians are thinking. That's what I hope to do in the Vietnam book. much like my first book, In Harm's Way, which is about World War II.
Right.
I hope they're similar in that they're both very closely focused human dramas, just about these poor, and not poor in the sense of economic, but these unfortunate young men who were asked to go somewhere that they had no idea really what they were about to meet, and then they came home, and most have rebuilt their lives. So, anyway, I know
you don't have a lot of time. I know you've got another appointment to get to, and that's fine. The National Writer Series going strong. This is, what, the 5th season?
We started in 2009,
okay.
So we'd have to do them.
Okay, well, close enough. It's going strong. I know it's wrapping up. You have an event coming up on Monday, July 7th, correct?
We do. Diana Gabaldon is the author of this really fascinating series called the Outlander series. It just, the thumbnail sketch is a Scottish married woman goes out into a field in 1945 and somehow leans against a rock and is teleported or time traveled back into earlier centuries in Scotland, where she has a parallel life, and that's the tension in the drama. So actually, through her, it's a very clever lens, because Diana is taking. I think it's a long series of books.
Right.
She's taking the readers through the sweep of history, through the eyes of this woman who was able to come back and forth through time. It sounds unbelievable, and I mean, of course, it is. It is science fiction in many ways. But the moment we announced this event, we had readers from around the country calling the National Writer Series office. It sold out within about 2 days. We've got people from Colorado and Florida and Michigan, of course, all over. I mean, because Diana, we're really lucky here, and also we're very lucky to partner with the National Cherry Festival to bring someone of her. She sold millions of books to Traverse City during the Cherry Festival. She's doing New York, TC, and Los Angeles on her book tour. And part of that is because of all the people here in Traverse City during the National Cherry Festival. And so it's going to be a fascinating night. We'll have on stage Deb Leonard, who's part of the Great Lakes Independent Booksellers Association. She's going to interview her. So that's a coup for Traverse City as well, because that trade organization represents the states surrounding the Great Lakes that do independent book selling. And
the goal of the National Writer Series, you have a couple of goals, right?
We do.
And that's number one, to help young authors and even adult authors as well, through workshops and.
Yeah, we do two things. We do these national events on the Traverse City Opera House stage, monthly or twice a month, which are a bit like a night at the Oscars. I mean, they're both emerging and very well-known writers who talk about the craft of writing and the power of storytelling, such as you and I are talking right now about your father on the kitchen table, and our experiences in Vietnam. That, to me, is what builds community. That's what really entertains and informs people. We do that, but then through the community in the Traverse City area, we've been able to create the Front Street Writers Program. So we have this whole other parallel track of writing workshops, and we created this program with Traverse City area public schools. Essentially gave them back the opportunity, so the kids now get high school credit for involving themselves in a very high-powered creative writing workshop.
Right.
So I think if you could boil it down, the National Writer Series and Front Street Writers are interested in putting on Main Street America, America's best storytellers, and creating transformative moments on stage which illuminate the power of art and storytelling to really enrich communities and to actually help young people build a future, because you and I are talking right now.
Right.
And we're doing a pretty good job of being articulate. But we have our moments.
We do.
We get there, and we're sitting here talking because of our teachers behind us.
No question about it.
And the practice that we were given, the opportunities, the challenge. Seriously, I mean, I cannot think, when I was on Wall Street doing an event for my book, Horse Soldiers, it's a long story, but I ended up talking to a bunch of bankers in New York, and I said, "Who are you hiring?"
Right.
I thought they were going to say econ majors from MIT and Princeton, and they said, "Well, we do that, but we're typically most interested in the liberal arts major, the kid who does drama, the kid who's done public speaking debate, the newspaper kid, all those students who are really good at skills of communication."
Right.
And that's, if you can do that, then our economy's better. Future generation. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm running for office here because I'm not. But we really have that philosophical zeal about the value of essentially writing.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you. I know that walking through downtown yesterday, at a time when cities work hard to keep a bookstore open, to be in downtown Traverse City and to hear a young child say to their mom, "Hey, I want to go to the bookstore." And I thought, and I don't hear that every day, even in the streets of Grand Rapids. I'm thinking, wow, to hear that here in Traverse City.
Yeah.
You know that you are creating a culture here. Getting back to the National Writer Series and to your author that's coming in on Monday, July 7th. I know the tickets sold out instantly. There is a chance, an opportunity to maybe get a couple if you want one.
Yeah, there is. You may email our fearless director, Jill Tousley, of the National Writer Series, at Jill Tousley, nwstc@gmail.com.
Okay.
Do I have that right, John?
I think you do, yeah. I'll double check it, but if not, I'll make sure it's on the blog.
If you go to our website, National Writer Series,
it'll be there. Yeah.
But the short of it is a local benefactor has donated 4 tickets. They're each $250.
Right.
And they will go towards these student programs that we're offering through the Writer Series. So we need to get the word out because the waiting list is long. So if you would like to purchase those tickets, go to the
website.
Yeah.
Get the information and email them and get those tickets and help out a great cause. Anything else you want to add, or what else you have going? Because you're such a busy guy. I know that.
Well, I mean, we've had. It's funny. We've had 60 authors on stage at the City Opera House. And I want to just say something about them. If you haven't been down there, John, I mean, lately or looked inside, it's an amazing space.
Yeah.
Since 1892, it's been downtown. And so I was trying to think, like, when we're in there on a night, say we've had Mary Carr here, this award-winning memoirist, or we had Sebastian Junger here, or we've had Janet Ivanovich, we've had Tom Brokaw.
Sure.
We've had Daniel Silva. I mean, we've had, the list goes on. Jeffrey Eugenides.
Mitch Albom was here.
Mitch Albom. Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, was on that stage. Chip Johannesson, one of the producers from the show Homeland, was on that stage. We have a wide mix of people. And so every time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, what was going on here 100 years ago in this room? Because the City Opera House in downtown Traverse City really, to me, is one of the busiest. It is one of the busiest places in town. Weirdly, so is Horizon Books, which is open 7 days a week from 7 in the morning till 11 at night. And that's really unusual for a bookstore, number one, to be open that much, and for any business in a town like this. They, on average, have 500 people a day come through the door at Horizon, on average throughout the year. Of course, in February it's much, but that and the Opera House at the other end, the Opera House has been there for 3 centuries. It was built in 1890.
Wow.
So that's the 19th century. It went through all the 20th, and now we're in the 21st. So it's a magical room that's had a lot of interesting places and or events and things happening in it. So I just wanted to get a word in for that because we are really lucky, and we're glad that you're up here talking about this area because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of art. There's a lot of culture. There's a lot of food. Now we just have to work to bring the jobs.
Yes.
And that'll be our next podcast.
And don't forget, a lot of cherries here, too. I can't wait to get my first.
The cherry industry seems to be having a good year. The grapes are coming on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this is my hometown.
I know.
And I've seen a huge amount of change for the better here.
Sure. Doug Stanton, New York Times bestselling author, Horse Soldiers in Harm's Way, and a new book in the works about Vietnam, or centered around Vietnam. We look forward to reading that, and of course, any other project you have coming up in the future. Let's stay in touch. And where can people? You also have a website too, right?
I do.
Do you know that?
DougStanton.net. I'll admit it's horribly out of date, but people are welcome to go there and I'm reminded here. By the boss to not forget the 4 tickets.
Yes. We did. Does she want to mention the benefactor? No? Yes?
Oh, yes.
I thought it was, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, Cherry Capital Airport.
Make it look
Terrific.
bad.
Yeah. The least likely airport in America to lose your luggage.
I've heard that. I've seen their system. They do a good job there. Thanks a lot, Doug.
Thank you. Bye-bye.